Donald Trump has won. There's a lot of learning in terms of digital marketing with this US election campaign, whether it is from Trump or it's from Kamala Harris. And I believe that these learnings can be used for business owners as well. And I think it's after 1 month, so for me to produce this video, it shouldn't have any pushback to this channel. Now, this content will be a bit different from what my usual content is, but I believe it is beneficial for us to go through this, to look into the campaign, as I believe it is beneficial to not only politicians but also to business owners. There's a lot of learnings from this, and before I begin, if you are new to this channel, remember to subscribe to this channel so that you can get more content like this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into my computer to look into some data, and after that I will summarize the learnings and hopefully you get something out of this. Without further ado, let's jump straight into my computer and let me show you some data why Donald Trump won. Let's go. Alright, the first thing that we look into is the website. So you can see this is Donald Trump website, pretty interesting, red and blue in color. Usually he wears a red tie. You can see here he wears a red tie, which usually means quite authoritative, but in his main page he put blue. Blue actually symbolizes trust, so he's trying to make us trust him. And now let's go to Kamala Harris website. Blue is a Democrat color, so everything is blue here, a bit of red here and there. But let's see in terms of the traffic. Okay, I'm not going to go through exactly what happened, what's the messaging the website have. I saw some videos on that. Now let's just look into the performance of the website. So I'm going to use this software called similarweb.com. I'm using the free version, so that's the reason why there's a bit limited data. But you can see for Donald Trump, the total visit for the last 1 month, I mean which is October. November we still haven't had the data yet, but November is the important month, right? A few weeks before the election. So you can see that the total visit is 12.93 million. Let's compare with Kamala so that we can do side-by-side comparison. And you can see in Kamala, there's 12.64, which is actually less compared to Donald Trump. But in terms of global ranking, Kamala's website is actually even higher than Donald Trump. Okay, but just Donald Trump have a big spike during October. So you can see that the engagement is not good. The bounce rate is 55.06. The bounce rate is very high in Donald Trump's one as well. So you can see in terms of the visits, there's a lot is from Trump.com. They come in. Oh, a lot from True Social. Okay, that's not bad. For this one is from Politico. Even Donald Trump also comes from. Okay, that's interesting. The top country, of course, US, both also similar. Let's look into the channel overview. So you can see that a lot comes from direct and organic search. This is for Kamala, branded. This is done branded. Oh, okay. Well, Kamala did pay a lot for the campaign. I'll talk about that later. Okay, so this is top search term. This top search term, Harris Walls. Alright, when you look into Trump, it's purely Trump keyword. That shows how powerful his keyword is. So into our website, you can just have a look further. I don't think I need to go through much about this as well, but let's look into general data. I'm not going to go into this forever. There's more visit to Trump website compared to Kamala's website. So there's another tracker that I look into, which is the Uber Suggest. You can see that in terms of traffic organic, it's quite good. And you can look into backlinks. Look at how many backlinks that this Kamala has compared to Donald Trump. This just shows how much media like to talk about him. Alright, so a lot of people link back to him. Alright, so this is very interesting data. So it just means that there's a lot of people linking the website back to Donald Trump. So in terms of website, it looks like, well, Donald Trump won this. More traffic, more backlinks, more people talk about it. Also a lot of keyword related to Trump compared to Kamala. Kamala is like a bit more here and there. Right, Harris Walls, merch, all these are not really a good keyword for my opinion compared to all this. There's more intention in terms of going into Donald Trump's website compared to Kamala. So the second thing I'm going to look into is the Google trend. So see who has more interest over time compared to one another. I do it 90 days instead of 180 days or 1 year because Kamala Harris came in, well, after the Biden debate with Donald Trump. So that's the reason why I do not need to go very far to check. As you can see, the interest is very high on Donald Trump compared to Kamala. This is not what I say, this is what the data say. You can see nearly everywhere the interest is all on Donald Trump. It could be good or bad interest, I'm not so sure, but interest nevertheless. I look into Kamala Harris, the sub-regions, and you can see that in terms of the concession speech, that means she has considered. So this is the breakout. But when you look into Donald Trump, again, the intention is higher. Garbage truck. Okay, there's this, yeah, Biden said something, so that's the reason why. Cabinet pick, all this rally message, Rogan Trump interview, this is one big one. They're going to talk more about it later. So there are more different interests compared to Kamala. Let's just look into it before the election. Let's do custom, because I think now people are wondering what's happened after she lost, right? Let's look into before the election. Let's just go October to November. Okay, this is before election. Let's click OK. Alright, now for this spike, now we can see a clearer picture. Okay, this is before the election. I mean, after the election, a lot of people want to see what's the policy and things like that from Donald Trump. But nevertheless, you can still see overall the interests are still higher for Donald Trump. And you can see that it's quite equal right now compared to previous. Now you look into the Kamala Harris, so you can see the Brett Byers Kamala interview. Did Kamala work at McDonald's? I don't know. Harris Fox sign and Harris Fox interview and Kamala interview Fox. And then you look into Donald Trump. Musk Trump, Rogan Trump. Wow. A lot of people are interested to what Donald Trump is saying. So again, this is very good information. So in terms of trend as well, whether we like it or not, people want to know more about what Donald Trump is saying. People are searching more about Donald Trump. So in terms of trend, Donald Trump won too. Alright, the third thing we're going to look into, which is social media numbers. Now, this is a very good information. I'm going to compare with a few important social media, which is TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and also X, Twitter. So let's look into TikTok first. So the first number for TikTok, 14.6 million, 106.3 million likes. A lot of views have a millions. So in terms of the engagement, it's pretty good. Now, of course, all these can be bought. Now let's look into Kamala's, 9.3 million. So basically, Donald Trump nearly doubled it. But there are a lot more likes for Kamala, and the views are really a lot as well for Kamala. So in terms of this, TikTok numbers I think is dropped because the likes, the engagement is as important, and in fact could be very much more important than followers because people are actually liking it. But again, all this can be bought. Followers a bit hard to buy, but likes you can. So let's just put them draw, okay, to be fair. Okay, now let's look into the YouTube video. I'm talking about channel, yeah, not on the videos. So for Donald Trump, they have 3.77 million subscribers, not a lot, 4.3 thousand views. And in terms of view as well, it's not very good. Let's look into videos. Okay, millions, yeah, I watched the ad, 300,000, so it's okay, pretty good. Let's look at Kamala's, 868,000 subscribers. Okay, now this is not good. Number of videos, not good as well, not a lot. You see, Donald Trump 4.3 for 786. I mean, he's been around longer, but still, you need to pump up more, man. And the views, rather disappointing. Huh? Not many hit a million. YouTube, even though I believe that they are mostly supporting Kamala, but the number doesn't look good. Again, can be bought. I'm just going to look into it in terms of the view of what I can see. Whether they buy or not, I'm not so sure. Donald Trump win this. Let's look into Instagram. 29.5 million followers, 19.7 million followers, 7,000 posts, 5,000 posts. Following, let's look into their data as well. Reels, oh, few million views. Let's look into Kamala's, also millions. Wow, but in terms of numbers, sorry, I think Trump just do better. I think Donald Trump has been around longer, so that's the reason why he have a more established brand and they have more followers as well. Nearly double. For this, Donald Trump. Now let's look into Facebook. 35 million followers. Okay, don't look at this. Don't look into engagement. Facebook is terrible. So just look into just the bare number, right? I mean, we can look into quick engagement, 74,000. Just look at the few, 152. I saw a lot of support in Facebook for Kamala, so I think the engagement should be higher. Not a lot, so 74k, 69k, 12, 19k, 10k. If you're in Facebook, why don't support the page? Alright, if you're supporting your candidate. Okay, 32k, 100,000, 96. Okay, for this case, again, Donald Trump has more followers, more engagement compared to Kamala. So in this case, we'll give it to Donald Trump as well. Now let's look into X. Donald Trump has 95.2 million followers. Wow, that's a lot. And Kamala has 21.1. Okay, 4-5 times more. I think, again, she has been around for a long time. So most probably that's the reason why he has so many followers. So to be honest, apart from TikTok, when you look through all the main social media platforms, Donald Trump wins. Mainly, of course, he's been around longer. More people know about him. Established brand. And people just like to see what he says. Okay, so in terms of social media, Donald Trump. Alright, so just now we look into the social media number. So the fourth thing we want to look into is the view count. How many people view Donald Trump in YouTube? YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, back just behind Google, right? So it's very important to see what people talk about and how famous Donald Trump is. In terms of subscriber, again, 3.77, not a lot. Okay, but let's look into the videos that they have. So this one is one day, which is about after the election. So you can see that the views are not many, except SNL, which is 3 years ago. My goodness, it's so many years ago. So you can see overall, in terms of the view, it's not a lot. 5.9. This is SNL, 11 million SNL, which is many years ago, months ago, sorry, this one, 8 years ago. So it's not very encouraging in terms of the view that Kamala has compared to Donald Trump. 43,000 views, also not a lot. Monologue 9 years ago, all about SNL. Okay, that's not very interesting. Let's just put some filter into the videos. Put filter, put into this year, so you can see the information here from this year as well. So it's fair, right? Now go to filter and go just look into the view count to see who has more view counts. Kamala, same thing as well. Alright, put in the filter by view count. Oh, sorry. Okay, now let's look into this first. Okay, the view count for Donald Trump is 52 million the most. Kamala is 13 million. Okay, 30 million, 10 million here. 50 million, Joe Rogan. I follow as well, so pretty good. 27 million just on him working on McDonald's. 18 million 3 weeks ago, this after he won the election. 4 months, 16 million, Shane Gillis. Okay, I like him as well. Very good. 16 million views, 13 million views. So the top views are a lot for Donald Trump. Now let's look into Kamala. Okay, this is a very weird number. When you click on this, search Kamala, the most viewed video that you have is actually about Ben Shapiro, which is supporting Donald Trump. So again, this is very interesting. I like this very interesting debate or interview. And when the most viewed videos on Kamala Harris is about Ben Shapiro, I think you know where this goes, huh? No need me to say. So YouTube views 8.5 million. Not many even hit 10 million. Donald Trump win this. Okay, again, it's easy to say because hindsight 2020, but the data don't lie. The next thing we're going to look is on podcasts. A lot of people say that this is the podcast election where the podcast make the change, and you can see the Donald Trump, the main one as well, the podcast is from Joe Rogan. I read some news as well that say that some came to vote because they watched the interview that Donald Trump has with Joe Rogan. Let's look into the Donald Trump podcast compared to Kamala's podcast. When you just type Kamala Harris podcast or Donald Trump podcast. Now, we already know Joe Rogan won't be here, the top one, YouTube. So you can see, let's look at Kamala Harris podcast. Well, all the smoke, this is with NBA stars, 700,000 views. Okay, 40 something minutes, 1 hour 35 minutes. This is not even Kamala's interview. And you can look into this. Full interview is only 20 minutes. Okay, 400,000 views. 60-minute interview, 20 minutes as well. Very short, 3.8 million views. The longest is the Howard Stern show. Interesting. Get to know a bit about her background as well. I watched this interview too. Pretty cool. 1 hour, 1.8 million views. The rest are pretty lackluster. There's nothing much. Again, Ben Shapiro. Oh well. Okay, the numbers are not as encouraging. Let's look into Donald Trump podcast. So Donald Trump has been in a few podcasts that I actually listen to. Well, interest. So one thing, he's in lead. Lex Friedman, 1 hour, quite long. Theo Von, 1 hour as well. Joe Rogan, 3 hours. Look at the views, 52 million, 50 million. This view itself is already more than some of her podcast view combined. That's how big Theo Von is. Let's see what else. Flagrant, 8.6 million. So again, just on the podcast itself, he racks up many views. Oh, he was even in Impulsive, 6.7 million views. Not only him, in fact, all his running mates everywhere, everything also go on to podcasts. So yes, podcast itself bring in how many millions views? Imagine if we go to Kamala, how it will impact and change people's perception about the candidate. And look at how long she's been in. 1 hour, 3 hours, 2.5 hours. And I watched the interview with Andrews. I do not pronounce his name, but yeah, Andrew Schultz. And it's very interesting, it's not just purely tick. He got pushed back a little bit, which is very interesting on how he is able to be himself in terms of this long form podcast. Compared to hers is a bit shorter for people to know where she stands. Even this also is less than 1 hour. Alright, interesting. So if you will still say that it is a podcast election, I actually believe in that as well, because the podcast number to 50 million is more than all these video combined. Can you imagine that? Donald Trump got this. Yeah, again, hindsight 2020. We know because it happened. Alright, but moving forward, what they will do next, they should really look into this. So just to summarize, also some little data that I found in terms of website, Donald Trump have a bit edge because there's a bit more traffic on October. On the second thing, the trend, Donald Trump also won. Just a small margin as well, because I think Kamala came in late. A lot of interest on what happened, what she do, and things like that. But nevertheless, there's still more intention searches for Donald Trump. In terms of social, apart from TikTok, the rest, Donald Trump win far ahead. The numbers are nearly double crazy. In terms of YouTube view count, mostly it's Donald Trump as well. When you look into Kamala Harris, even the top video is about Ben Shapiro. Mind blown. And on the fifth thing in podcast, just Joe Rogan's podcast itself is already more than how many views combined. But when you look into all these metrics, I know it's more after, but nevertheless the number don't lie. The number won't change so much after he won. Okay, a lot more interest before he win. And I believe that's one of the main reasons why, in terms of a marketing perspective, Donald Trump won. This saying by Dan Kennedy, whoever spent the most money to acquire a customer wins. So in this sense, whoever spent more on the campaign actually is supposed to win. But things are very different. Let me just show you some information. So I found some information about Kamala's campaign, and you can see that Kamala actually have raised more money compared to Donald Trump, 1.6 billion to 1.1 billion of Donald Trump. Well, and they say a lot of billionaires support Trump. I think most of them actually supported Harris, as you can see. Right, 83 billionaires supported Kamala Harris out of 52. Why? Look into this number. Why do billionaires support Kamala Harris more? So this case is different. So this time is all about influence. Donald Trump won with much less spending. It's different from the normal things that we know, that the more you spend, the more customer you get. So in this case, she came in quite late, so she needs to spend a lot more just to get people to know her, to understand her, and to trust her. So there's a few things that I want to summarize. There's just 7 things that I want to summarize, based on what I see, and also in terms of marketing. First thing is on branding. Now, Donald Trump has been around for a long time, and even after he lost in the 2020 election, he keep on promoting himself, making sure that people know about him and things like that. While Kamala came in at the last minute. So in terms of brand, people know Donald Trump more than Kamala, and the branding, as you can see in the social media part, is a lot more compared to Kamala. So what I would think that in terms of brand building, right, if Kamala would want to win, she should maybe start earlier, or she need more time. For now, the time is just against her, and she don't have enough time to build the brand, to build the trust. And sometimes people prefer to vote for people that they know, because they know how he governed, and people sometimes prefer clarity instead of uncertainty. So I mean, Kamala has been the vice president, but nevertheless, her as brand itself is not as strong compared to Donald Trump. So in terms of branding, this is why you need to have a very strong brand. I do suggest for businesses as well to look into branding, to make sure that people know you, so that you are certain that you are the one that people want to look out for if they want anything, if they need help to solve their problem. So branding is very important, something that you cannot overlook. Now, on second thing is the target audience. So I found this very cool data about swing states and targeted attack, and you can see what kind of campaign, I can put all the information down in the description. You can have a look. You can see what are the target things that they are looking into. People are looking into immigration, crime, and taxation on this swing states, and that's the reason why he have a very good targeted tactics as well. So you can see in terms of broadcast ads as well, it's not as many, mainly because again, Democrats have more money, but you can see the platform of choice as well. They know where their audience is, and even though they spend very less on Facebook, I see a lot more about Kamala than Trump. So you can see that how much they have spent. But in X, where so-called free speech is king, a lot of money has been spent by Republicans, so they are very targeted. So in terms of this, as well, you can see all the podcasts, right? They are mostly related podcast. So I think Trump know what kind of audience that he's targeting and who he want to influence. And all these meal model that we see in terms of the podcast, they tell stories, and stories relate to one another. There's this familiarity when people tell stories. So that's the reason why I think in terms of Donald Trump choosing all these podcaster, which is very good storyteller, he knows his audience, right? And he aims specifically to the target audience. He know in terms of spending, he cannot overbeat Kamala. So what he can do? So instead of going for paid media, he go for earned media, which is people that have grown the followings. So he very clear on his target audience. I think he went to a few like crypto podcasts, convenient podcasts, a few, all this just to grow his influence. And I think to be successful, you really need to know who's your audience and who you want to target, and also who are the one that, what are the issue that they care. So in terms of this case, Donald Trump do a very good job on it. Third thing I'll talk about is on celebrity endorsement versus the new media endorsement. I mentioned just now a bit about the podcaster as well, and I think for Kamala, she has spent a lot of money on getting celebrities to endorse her. Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Oprah, all these need money, that they don't do for free. So I believe that it works in Obama's time, mainly because the social media is not as big as it is now. Alright. And okay, what's the difference between the new media people and also the celebrities? There's this thing in marketing called parasocial relationship. So what it means is that what I as a person see when I look into this certain person, whether I can relate to them as well. So if I can see myself being friend with that person, that means I have a strong relationship with that person. Now, before the boom of social media during Barack Obama's time, people like to look up into those celebrities because celebrities are role models, and sometimes we like to look up to role models. But with this new media, people come in, they have big influence because we can relate to them. And they tell stories, as I mentioned just now, they tell stories. Stories make me feel closer. It feels like I'm actually sitting down with them, listening to their conversation instead of just seeing a well-publicized things. So that's the reason why I think in terms of new media influence, it's very good to make people feel relatable to that person. Because again, when we look into people like Taylor Swift, we see that she's a performer, but what else? I don't know much about her private life apart from she's dating a football star. But other than that, I don't know what she stands for, her story exactly, all from media curated PR stuff. It's not something that she says. So I cannot feel a connection there. When you look into, like, for example, the Avenger video that they have for Kamala, I don't feel related to them because they are acting, they are actors. It's not something that I can relate to compared to when I watch like all those podcasters like Lex Fridman. They are very vulnerable. And what people feel is that they can relate to whatever that's being spoken instead of having something that is something that you aspire into. Sometimes I just want to be relatable to you. So I find that in this new social media era, we should look into the new media influencers because they are the one that is closer to the customers. Next is the podcast election this year, the fourth thing that we learned, the podcast election. So again, it depends on what we see. This year is the podcast election. A lot of people have said that. 52 million views, that's a lot. And I mentioned a lot about this just now already. So look into podcasts. Look into having long-form conversation instead of short-form conversation. See how they speak. See how they are as a person. Don't know how to expand on this more, but look into podcasts. Something that I might start soon as well. Next thing, number 5 is clear message. Now, Donald Trump's message has been very clear because you know your target audience. You know what they are looking into. What are the things that are troubling them. First, confused mind won't buy. For Kamala, I saw a lot of videos, a lot of her messaging is not so clear compared to Trump, and that's another reason why Trump have a bit edge over her because of that. 6 is authenticity. Now, for Donald Trump to be here for 3 hours, I watched the whole podcast. Very interesting, he's very humorous. It's very different from what I read in the media, which is well curated. And when you see these things, you know that he's authentic in a way. Now just look at the way things are being set up. And you look into Kamala's podcast, they are all very well produced compared to Donald Trump's podcast. I mean, some of them are well produced as well, but nevertheless, I still think that in terms of authenticity, I can feel it more with Donald Trump even after watching it. And it's really overproduced for Kamala. She just spent 6 figures for her Call Her Daddy podcast, and her podcast is, just failing to break 1 million views. I think it's less than an hour as well, so it's very short. Is it authentic? You build a stage just for her to come and interview you, instead of you going to their place, like what Donald Trump did. Even the setup is not authentic. I believe this is something that you look into. Again, we need more time for her to get used to things. Sadly to say, when you look into it, even before the election, when I watch all the interviews, I do feel Trump has edge in that authenticity part. Now again, I'm talking purely on marketing perspective because I know policies. I don't want people to say much about policies. I don't know. I'm not from US. I'm from Malaysia. But I'm just looking at the marketing perspective on how he do well. The 7th thing is on the partnership. Partnership. I'm not talking about endorsement. I'm talking about partnership. Now Kamala's partnership. I think he have Mark Cuban, the one that very vocal on supporting her as a business owner, and I find it interesting. But Donald Trump do have the richest person on earth supporting him, which is Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is like an idol for many, many people, including me, myself, for the things that he has done just before the election, I guess. And it inspired a lot of people on what he can do, especially when he worked for Trump. So with that kind of partnership, together with Robert Kennedy, Vivek, Tulsi Gabbard, so I cannot remember the full name, but I find them very interesting. Moving from lifetime Democrats to Republican, it do sway people. So the partnership is important. And if Kamala have this kind of strong partnership, maybe get Bezos or get Mark Zuckerberg to say yes, this time they want to move away from politics. But if they were to say yes, I think things might change. She might have a better fighting chance. I think she need to broker a deal with all these kind of people in the future, or any next nominees. Need to negotiate on how to have a proper partnership with all these people, as they are influencers in their own way as well. In this case, Trump, well done on that. We look through all the data, and this is what we learned. First thing, branding is very important. So whether it's political party or business owners, do not neglect that. Second thing is to know your target audience, because that's where you can focus all your attention to. Third thing is to find new media endorsement, because they have a closer parasocial relationship with the audience compared to having celebrities. Fourth, well, this is a podcast election, so pick a podcast, go for long form conversation, and yes, it will make a difference. 50 million, that's a lot. 5, have clear message in whatever you do. But if you know your target audience, definitely you have a clearer message. So it go hands to hand, so you need to have clear message. 6, authenticity. You want to be safe? Yes, you can. You want to have proper curated PR image. It might work long time ago because people look at them as somewhere far. But now, authenticity is all matters. It's all about relatability and also how you build trust. So I would suggest to look into being authentic. I see a lot of social media now, business owners, they show what's happening behind the scene, and they have grown their social media platform very, very big because of that. I think people like to see being authentic instead of a properly curated PR media. Last but not least, 7, on partnership. So she have good partners with all these people. That's the reason why they are able to move the needle. He don't work alone. he negotiated a lot of deals with all these people. Again, they don't work for free. No one come in for free, especially in America. I don't think so. So there must be a deal behind. So Kamala need to negotiate with all the partners, those that have influence, to help her instead of having endorsements. Endorsements and partnership are different. Partnership can move a needle because not only they have influence, they are also business owners that can help you after you have won. I think that's something that Kamala is missing. That's my take on this election. This is a finding that I find, and I hope this is helpful for you, whether it is as a political party or also as a business owner. I don't get flagged again. Hindsight 2020. We know that he won, so that's very, very easy for me to dissect what's happening. But this is just an objective view. Whoever you support, the policies, again, no, it matters, but at the same time, marketing matters as well. It doesn't matter what kind of product that you have. If you market them very well, most of the time you will win. And Donald Trump do a good job in marketing himself. If you'd like to see more content like this, do put in the comment section below so that I can maybe look into changing my content style for the longer form ones, because I find this interesting as well, and I like to do research and have a look about this as well compared to my previous how-to videos. Okay, if you like what I share, do subscribe, and I see you next time. Thank you so much. Goodbye.